Ranking third in the list of most potent Asian countries, the world's fifth largest economy in terms of nominal GDP, and the third largest by purchasing power parity PPP, India is undoubtedly a country that exerts substantial influence on the political and economic landscape of the region, leaving a global impact with their prominent role in shaping geopolitical dynamics. It has also been observed that there has been rapid income growth in recent years, leading to the uplifting of millions of Indians from poverty. This is attributed to the fact that India has successfully implemented reforms that improved economic activity, effectively curbing inflation, fiscal deficits, and current account imbalances. As we look deeper, we will observe how India has achieved this incredible feat over the years. It is worth noting that India has been able to undergo a transformative narrative amidst global shifts, such as the rise of populism in the West in 2016, the implementation of demonetization in 2017, the shadow banking crisis of 2018, the unprecedented challenges posed by the 2020 pandemic, persistently high inflation in the West for the past 40 years, and the occurrence of 2 wars since early 2022, all in a decade. Despite these significant drawbacks, India has been able to navigate through, drawing inspiration from Professor Ricardo Hausmann's Scrabble economic development theory, strategically transforming know-how and capabilities into distinctive products and solutions. The country's commitment to leveraging technology for accumulating and disseminating tacit knowledge, enhancing high-end manufacturing capacity, and fostering competitiveness through exports served as pivotal catalysts, propelling its growth trajectory and strengthening economic fundamentals. Throughout its history, India has traditionally categorized and monitored its economy and GDP across 3 sectors: agriculture, encompassing crops, horticulture, animal husbandry, and more industry, involving diverse manufacturing subsectors. Services include a wide range of activities such as construction, retail, software, IT, communications, healthcare, and various other economic pursuits. Contributing to over 50% of the GDP, the service sector is the fastest-growing segment, with the industrial and agricultural sectors employing most of the labor force. The agricultural and related sectors, such as forestry, logging, and fishing, as of 2014 were recorded to have contributed to 17% of the GDP and engaged 49% of the total workforce. Also, by 2016, the agricultural sector constituted 23% of the GDP, employing 59% of the nation's workforce. Globally, India is second in food and agricultural production, with agricultural exports reaching $35.09 billion. India can offer livelihoods to approximately 6 million individuals through its fisheries sector, sustained by inland water and marine resources. By 2010, the country boasted of being the world's 6th largest fishing industry. Taking the lead as the largest producer of milk, jute, and pulses, India also boasts of harboring the world's 2nd largest cattle population, which is 170 million animals as of 2011. Additionally, it secures the 2nd spot in producing rice, wheat, sugarcane, cotton, and groundnuts. Notably, India is 2nd in fruit and vegetable production, contributing 10.9% and 8.6% to global production, respectively. The country is also a significant player in silk, being the 2nd largest producer globally and the largest consumer, yielding 77,000 tons in 2005. Furthermore, India is the leading exporter of cashew kernels and nutshell liquid. On the other hand, India's manufacturing industry is also a critical sector that has contributed to its economic growth, comprising 26% of the GDP and engaging 22% of the workforce. The industrial sector, with Mumbai at its helm, holds a prominent position in India. According to the World Bank, India ranked 6th globally in industrial manufacturing GDP output in 2015, amounting to $559 billion in current US dollars, and 9th on an inflation-adjusted constant, 2005 US dollar basis, totaling $197.1 billion. The transformative impact of the 1991 economic reforms reshaped the industrial landscape by removing import restrictions, introducing foreign competition, privatizing select government-owned public sector industries, liberalizing the foreign direct investment (FDI) regime, enhancing infrastructure, and fostering an upswing in the production of fast-moving consumer goods. Manufacturing and technology industries are concentrated in India's industrial regions. Additionally, the country holds global rankings as the second-largest producer of coal, agrochemicals, cement, and steel, while securing the third position in electricity production. In subsectors such as engineering, agrochemicals, fertilizers, and pharmaceuticals, amongst others, India was ranked the second-largest exporter of agrochemicals in the world. Also, it held the title of the largest producer of generic drugs globally, with its pharmaceutical sector satisfying more than 50% of the worldwide demand for vaccines. The Indian pharmaceutical sector is vital, meeting over 62% of the global vaccine demand. In the fiscal year 2017-18, pharmaceutical exports from India amounted to $17.27 billion, with projections indicating an anticipated increase to $20 billion by 2020. Engineering is the largest subsector within India's industrial landscape in terms of GDP, ranking as the third largest in exports. This encompasses transport equipment, machine tools, capital goods, transformers, switchgear, furnaces and cast and forged parts for turbines, automobiles, and railways. With approximately 4 million employees, the engineering industry exported $67 billion of goods in the 2013-14 fiscal year, contributing to domestic and international demand. Notably, as of 2023, India is the world's third-largest automotive market by sales and is the fourth-largest producer in the global automobile industry. Furthermore, India's services sector commands the largest share of India's GDP, constituting 57% in 2012, a significant rise from 15% in 1950. Ranking the seventh-largest services sector by nominal GDP and the third largest in purchasing power. It employs 27% of the workforce. Information technology and business process outsourcing stand out as swiftly advancing sectors, boasting a cumulative revenue growth rate of 33.6% between fiscal years 1997-98 and 2002-3. These sectors also contributed 25% of the country's total exports in the fiscal year 2007-8. Additionally, India's economy is anticipated to encounter challenges in the fiscal year 2023-24 due to subdued global demand and monetary policy adjustments aimed at managing inflationary pressures, consequently limiting real GDP growth to 6%. However, a positive shift is forecasted for FY 2024-25, marked by alleviated inflation, accommodative monetary policies, and improved global conditions, contributing to an expected growth rate of 7% in real GDP. Despite India's commendable growth and development achievements, addressing significant challenges remains imperative, including poverty reduction, particularly among women, and strategic investments in the green economy to combat climate change. Economic activity in India has declined due to subdued demand and elevated inflation, particularly in energy and food, diminishing purchasing power and household consumption, particularly in urban centers. The decline in business investment is evident through weakening credit-supported demand for capital goods. Although services exports have demonstrated growth, they fall short of compensating for the trade imbalance in goods. The competitiveness of Indian goods and integration into global value chains is hampered by low labor productivity. In terms of politics, India has also had much corruption. According to a 2005 Transparency International study, over 50% of respondents reported first-hand encounters with paying a bribe or using influence to accomplish tasks in public offices during the preceding year. A subsequent study in 2008 revealed a decrease in this rate to 40%. In 2011, the Indian government determined that a significant portion of expenditure failed to reach its designated beneficiaries, attributed to the absorption of budgets by the extensive and inefficient bureaucracy. It was also discovered that India possesses an underground economy, as highlighted in a 2006 report that claimed the country ranked highest globally for black money, estimating nearly $1,456 billion concealed in Swiss banks. This sum equates to 13 times India's total external debt. Another significant economic challenge that threatens the progress made by the Indian government is education. Although India has made strides in enhancing primary education attendance and extending literacy to around 3/4 of its population, The literacy rate surged from 52.2% in 1991 to 74.04% in 2011. The 86th Amendment of 2002 elevated the right to elementary education as a fundamental right, and subsequent legislation aimed to ensure free education for all children. However, with a literacy rate of 74%, which is below the global average, the country battles with a notable dropout rate. Educational opportunities and literacy rates exhibit variations across regions, genders, urban and rural areas, as well as among different social groups. Economic disparities are also a significant challenge affecting India. This is characterized by visible and expanding regional disparities among its states and territories concerning poverty, infrastructure accessibility, and socio-economic development. To combat this issue, a 5-year plan was proposed, particularly in the pre-liberalization period, aimed to mitigate regional disparities by promoting industrial development in interior regions and dispersing industries across states. However, the outcomes proved discouraging, leading to increased inefficiency and hindrance to effective industrial growth. The states with more advanced infrastructure, educated workforce, and skill sets have been better positioned to capitalize on liberalization, attracting manufacturing and service sectors. Climate change is also a critical issue that affects India's economy. India bears the highest global social cost of carbon. According to a report from the London-based think tank Overseas Development Institute, the country faces the potential loss of 3 to 10% of its GDP annually by 2100, accompanied by a projected 3.5% increase in the poverty rate by 2040, attributable to the impacts of climate change. To have steady economic growth, there is a need to address climate change and gender disparities, which in turn necessitates targeted policies. These policies should include plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and fortify infrastructure to mitigate flooding risks. Also, advancing gender equality demands progress in health, education, and women's access to capital. Policy initiatives should integrate gender considerations, incorporating measures like child care assistance and vocational training, improving the education sector, and enforcing land rights to empower women economically while facilitating investments in climate adaptation and mitigation. There is also the need for policies to address economic disparities and improper diversifying of funds to low-income states. In conclusion, the economic overview of India involves traversing through its challenges to attain and maintain sustainable growth. Effectively tackling poverty, corruption, gender disparities, and climate change requires strategic policies and focused investments, forming the bedrock for India's enduring development.